Hi, welcome to Training Talk. My name is John Cullen, and I'm your host for the weekly series here at the Institute of Police Technology and Management, as we offer you a look inside of different training tips, case studies, and some of the excellent classes we offer as we strive to train the next generation of law enforcement. At this time, I'm going to send you over to our subject matter expert who's going to share this week's weekly tip.
Hey everybody, I'm Erin Morris, and today we're going to be walking through a little bit of some tips and tricks in dealing with some forensic processing. Specifically today, we're going to be looking at layering your tape and layering your latent lift cards. So most agencies, as we all know, the budgets are not created equal. So many of you are only going to be equipped with the 2-inch tape as well as those 3x5 index card size latent lift cards. As we all know, fingerprints and feetprint don't necessarily always fit that size card. Many times a handprint is going to be a size that could require 2, 3, or 4 cards in order to successfully lift it in its entirety. The laboratory analysts that are going to be comparing those friction ridge details are not going to want them chopped up into little pieces. So I'm going to show you some ways that you can help successfully lift it in its entirety. Now, I've had a friend of mine come over and lay a handprint down on our white tub lid here. So as you can see, I've got a nice handprint and it's pretty big. So if I am working only with a small lift card as well as a 2-inch tape, I am not going to be able to successfully put that on one card or lift it all in one roll of tape. So what I want to do is something called layering. In order to do this, I'm going to start out with my lift tape and I'm going to kind of get a little bit of distance there that's going to reach the entire length of the handprint, footprint, shoe print, whatever it is that you're trying to lift. Now, good practices here for our tape. I want to start in an area that will be above the print, usually the highest point of the print, all the way to one side or the other, whichever is more comfortable to you. Once I start, I'm going to kind of push down and seal that piece of tape above the lift. Then I don't want to pull too tight. I don't want to create creases. So I'm going to give it a little bit of slack and I'm going to work my way down the center of the tape, pushing down the edges until I have successfully put that length of tape all the way across my handprint, footprint, whatever it happens to be. Then I'm going to go ahead and break it. Now, frosted tape is really good about breaking on its own and cutting itself on seam. If you don't have a thinner frosted tape, maybe you're dealing with poly tape or something like that, consider ensuring you've got some scissors or a pocket knife or something where you can cut your tape on seam. Now, once I've got my first layer of tape down, I'm going to take the next layer and make sure it slightly overlaps with that first line of tape. So I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to pull my length, start around the same place on the height as the first layer, slightly overlap. So I'm going to start it down and then I'm going to work my way down the center of the tape. All right, got the length of the print there. All my bubbles are out. Then I'm going to cut or tear the bottom. I like my dog ears. Gives me some working space. All right, now I'm going to do the next row here. Start at the top, same thing. And we're going to continue to do that with a little bit of overlap from the previous piece until we've got that entire handprint area lifted and covered. I'm sorry, covered for lifting. All right, this is the last piece that should do my handprint here. I put them down. Okay. Now, one thing I've learned is if I get a little aggressive here and trying to pull right off the bat, it's not going to be an easy lift. This is a large section of tape now. So what I have done is I create what I like to call support pieces. The support pieces are going to run the opposite direction of the tape pieces you've already put down in order to support it as you lift it from your item. So in this case, so say I've run this vertically, I'm now going to put 2 pieces of horizontal tape, one across the totality of the top and one across the totality of the bottom. All right, so here's my first one. These don't have to be nice and pretty. They can be sloppy because they're not going to stay. All right, where's my bottom? Right there. Good and solid. All right, now my tape's out of the way. So before I lift this, the next thing I have to do is I have to determine how many cards I need to get this entire print down and lifted. So I usually kind of just like to play with that ahead of time. So let's see, maybe one there, maybe one here. Let's go sideways. I think if I can get some width there, yeah, that's gonna do it. So it looks like I can do this handprint in 3. So once I've kind of established the pattern of the cards that I need, I'm gonna get it to the side here. Now, the point with this is there has to be a little bit of overlap because if they're next to each other, you might have a gap. And if a ridge detail line follows over that crack, then it's not really easily seen by our analysts that are comparing. So we wanna have a little bit of overlap and layer for our card in all areas here. So, okay, so I've set myself up for success. I've got my pattern for my lift. Now I'm gonna get to the dirty work. So as you guys noticed, I started on this side of my print, which means I want to start pulling the tape from this end. If I start on this side, my support piece may help me a little bit, but I run the risk of lifting that top layer off and it's separating from the layer below it. So I need to start with my original piece. So I'm gonna come over here to my dog ears that I've made, and I'm gonna start pulling from the corner. See how nice that's pulling up for me? All of the layers are sticking together. And that support piece is gonna keep it in place, and that also gives me something to hold on to. So now we're gonna do the same thing we did as we were laying it down to lift it. We're gonna keep that slack in there to avoid creases, and then we're gonna put it down on the card. So I wanna start above the card to give myself a little bit of working space. Make sure that print is going to go onto the card area. Right, so I've started. Oh, I've got some static there. Save it before it sticks. Oh no. All right, so torture here. If this happens to you, which I think we didn't have too much going down, I can get another card and back it up here. All right, save the day. All right, so I'm gonna lay that flat, make sure my bubbles are out. Now that that's down, we were talking about those support pieces, we don't need them. I can just pull that off from the top and the bottom of my tape. And voila, she's good to go, right? So then once my handprint is on there, I can come back, I can clean up those edges of my tape. I can fill out the back of the cards if they're pre-printed for you, and then you can package them up and ship them out to the lab for your analysts to compare to your suspects. I hope this helps you survive out in the wilderness. Have fun, guys.
Thanks for watching this week's Training Talk tip. We hope that you found this beneficial as you move forward in your investigations. Please be sure to comment if there's any future Training Talk tips that we could bring to you or areas of interest. And while doing so, we'd like you to follow us on all of our social media channels so that you can stay in tune with the latest training. While doing so, also check us out at iptm.org, where we have a large catalog of courses that are offered throughout the country. And if there's not one nearby, perhaps reach out to us and we could bring the training to you. Again, we hope that you follow along, found this useful, and we look forward to seeing you next week.